it, Gino. It's fine.
It's almost like a bar association question, for the bar. And the fact of the matter is, let me take it little piece by a little piece. I tend to be organized. So in the beginning, the subpoena, unless it's a federal case, this doesn't sound like that. The state is limited to the geographical limits of their boundaries. So the subpoena means nothing. What generally happens if you ignore a subpoena, it's ignoring a court order. And so you could be held in contempt. And there's a hearing for that and whatever. But they have no jurisdiction over you to even bring you to that court. And if you don't go to Minnesota, and it doesn't fall under one of the exceptions, which we call the long arm statute, which doesn't apply here. The reality is you could ignore the whole thing. Nobody's going to do anything. Now, I was trying to ask myself the question. I wasn't trying. I was asking myself the question, what kind of lawsuit was it? Is it state, federal, and what was the basis for it?
Oh, my God, Keanu, you want to take this one? Because, Judge, I can't. This is, if I could say one thing, then hand it over to my much more eloquent, concise wife. This is insane what the lawsuit is. And what's going on with us is so insanely stupid to us that I didn't bother to tell you what she's about to say. Wow.
Well, let me just add something in the meantime so that you put it in context. The Fifth Amendment is the Fifth Amendment to the United States Constitution. And it has various components. And if you have any potential of any criminal anything, you have the right to take the Fifth. And what happens if you do that is they can go to court and get an order that requires you to answer or else. And that may or may not happen. It sounds to me that nothing's going to happen in the court system in Minnesota. And when you say they took pictures, is it just pictures of her nude, or is it pictures of her doing things that are visible that might be considered a violation of the law? Now, some of the old laws are very antiquated. Sodomy laws and things of that nature are very antiquated. So it's possible. And you mentioned the use of cocaine. Well, that's against the law in Minnesota, I presume.
Well, Judge, let me make it easy for you.
You're a participant to that, maybe.
Yeah.
It was one picture, as I said, one picture. Like I barely remember it. How's that? I'll say it again. That she posed for in front of him, while she knowingly was distracting him because they both knew their spouses were having sex, but she wanted to distract. That's it. It's one stupid picture that I immediately deleted, and it just, the fun we've been having ever since, as you can imagine. So, again, circling back to what you're saying, it's like, but we've done nothing wrong. So the last thing I would want to say is because there's nothing that would. Am I right?
This is a nothing burger.
Yes, it is.
Bottom line is, you have no real involvement other than being the recipient of information. There may be some argument made by someone else that
exactly
as an invasion of the right of privacy, because that's all there is here.
Right. So
it doesn't seem to fit into any cause of action other than an invasion of the right of privacy. Now, in those cases, the defense is usually consent, and you say she consented to do this. She can't be the participant in the lawsuit as a plaintiff because she consented. Although whether she consented or not is an issue of fact that a jury would normally decide. This is something that we would generally just accept as accurate. If she was in court, she'd say, I never consented, I didn't know, whatever. And the jury decides that, unless there's a waiver of the jury trial, in which event we do that. But the reality here is, if you were living in Minnesota and were subject to the subpoena, you could assert certain privileges, including the Fifth Amendment rights and other things. But you're not there.
Right. And we wouldn't. Why would we plead the Fifth? We already told that when the officer called us to ask us about it, we just told the truth. Yeah.
Let me ask you something. I'm going to interrupt you. I apologize, honey. Should you ever lie to a cop?
Well, by the way, lying to the police is a criminal offense.
We would never.
Whoa. No. See, I know that, Judge. And a lot of idiots are like, no, you should have just lied. No. Say that again. You broke up. Let me see if my mic works. Lying to the cops is a criminal offense.
You don't have to. You didn't have to. Well, you need to talk to them. When the guy calls you or the gal calls you, say, I have nothing to say. Period. The end. There's nothing they can do to follow that up.
We didn't think of it like that. We just go, we're just going to tell the truth.
I don't break the law, so I didn't realize I could say that. The cop called me 3 times. I'm like, what? And I told him, and at that point, I'm like, whatever you need to know. Because again, Judge, it's one thing if it's my brother or my cousin or my wife. But when it's 4 idiots causing me trouble, I'm like, what do you need to know? Because I want not an inkling of anything. And don't get me wrong, maybe that's why, that's obviously why I got dragged into this. But am I wrong to be raised right? After 56 years, to never have had a call with a cop where I'm like, oh, you know what I always do in this situation? No regrets about that. I almost said, is that clear, Judge? I'm sorry, Judge.
Well, first of all, I started my career as a deputy district attorney, as a prosecutor, so I'm familiar with what the cops do. I see them every single day. And the reality is, it sounds very strange to me that a cop is calling you in New York. If you weren't a participant in anything, whatever you know is basically hearsay without any exception applying that I can think of. And the reality is, I would have just said, I have no comment. Thank you very much. Good luck. And
I guess you're right. I suppose we could have said that, but Eugene and I just tell the truth. We were just like, yes, it was a picture.